Matt Del Vecchio here, specializing in home care, elder care planning, and the senior living industry. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. You know, as our population ages, we're seeing a significant trend of people downsizing. Well, it could be a couple, maybe where the burden of home ownership is simply becoming too much and they'd like to downsize. Or it could be a widow or a widower that may feel the house is just simply too big for them now. Or something I see a lot in my world, there may be some aging-related challenges, such as mobility issues, where stairs are becoming too much to navigate. Or there may even be some cognitive issues, where it might not be as safe to be in the house on your own. So there are people that are considering a downsize, but then they start thinking about the potential move and what am I going to do with all that stuff? I often get asked for recommendations of people that can help with getting rid of their stuff, as well as how to properly and effectively downsize. Well, I have just the person. That's why I'm very pleased to have Stefanie Cadou back in studio with me. Stefanie's a real estate broker with Royal LePage Village, specializing in downsizing, transitioning, and assisting seniors with the sale of their home. She holds a senior real estate specialist designation. Stefanie, welcome back to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming in. Now, as you see firsthand, downsizing can be stressful, and it's an overwhelming process, isn't it?
It is, definitely. First of all, it's very emotional. Let's face it, people are attached to their belongings. I have clients who still hold on to their kids' tricycle. The thing is, the kids are in their 60s now, and nobody in the family will touch these tricycles because they're covered in lead paint. So it is all about the memories and the emotion. And the other thing is that it's also very physical, and not everybody has the capacity to address it. And it's also human nature to put things off. Sometimes there's a trigger event, like we did it at home because our basement was flooded in August. But without that flood, the stuff would still be in the house.
It's so true what you're saying. You know, just even thinking about it, and you've got all those memories, and it makes it very emotional, like you're saying. So, all right, now I'd like to make it a little easier for those that are considering the downsizing process. So, can you give us some downsizing tips that you would recommend?
Well, the first one is to start early. It's never too early. Even if you plan on spending another 20 years in your house, I can guarantee you have things in your house that you don't even know you owned. Okay? So it's never too early. The second tip is, once you know where you're going, get rid of the rooms that you will be losing in your new residence. For instance, you're moving from a 4-bedroom cottage with a garage and a basement to a 2-bedroom condo. Well, you're losing 2 bedrooms, you're losing the garage, and you're losing the basement. So start with those rooms. Third is to tackle one room at a time. If you do a little bit everywhere in the house at once, it's going to be pure chaos. Okay, and you're going to be disgusted. So you do it one room at a time, and you make 3 piles. Yes, I'm keeping because I'm using on a regular basis, and I'll need it where I'm going. Maybe not so sure, but if you're moving in 10 years, you can't afford to have a maybe pile. And the no pile has to get out of the house immediately, because you're going to go for a break and you're going to think of what's in that pile. And sure enough, it's going to make its way back to the yes pile.
To the yes pile. I can see it happening. I love that.
Human nature.
The 3-pile analogy. No goes out right away.
No goes out. And it's very important that couples are on the same board, because there's always one who's more attached to things than the other. That's why the no pile gets out, because it's also a source of arguments.
Talking with Stefanie Cadou about downsizing. She's a senior transition specialist, and giving us some downsizing tips. One of the things you talk about often, Stefanie, is something called a downsizing party. What does that mean?
Yes, downsizing party, you invite friends and family over, and they help you pack and sort out things. And the reason why I call it a party, it's because it really turns into one. Because the person who's actually downsizing shares a lot of memories that may be complete news to the people attending. And we did that, for instance, my sister, my daughter, with my grandma, who was 98 at the time, and myself. And we learned so much about grandma's past in Europe during the war. We were introduced to the women Not the grandma anymore, the women. And we had a phenomenal time.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying. It's you see stuff maybe in the basement, but like you said, Grandma became that human person talking about
Yep.
her time in the 30s, 40s,
And she was
50s.
a rock star.
I love it. All right. Now, one of the questions I get asked quite a bit, Stephanie, is, okay, I'm going to attempt this downsizing. I'm going to start to go through everything. The question I get the most is, what am I going to do with all this stuff?
The first thing is to speak up. You let everybody and their cousins know that you're actually downsizing, because you never know who needs what, who may be looking. So word of mouth is key. Then there are sales like estate sales, moving sale, garage sales. You'll never become a millionaire with those, but you can get rid of a lot of stuff. There's also websites and groups on social media, such as Facebook Garage Sales, Marketplace, Kijiji. And I beg you, especially seniors, do not invite people in your house to pick up stuff if you're alone. You're always better off, for your safety, to meet at a police station, in a public parking lot, but don't give your address and greet strangers in your house. You never know.
Public zones now for
Absolutely,
these things.
yes, with cameras. And then there are donation centers such as Renaissance. There's Nova thrift shops in the West Island. Welcome Collective, that's a good one, because they focus on refugees and newcomers to the country. So you're really helping people who have nothing. And then there's eco centers, there's different Le Chaînon, there's Entraide Diabétique du Québec, which is for diabetes. So there are a lot of different foundations.
And it's interesting you say that, because we've seen it. I've seen it firsthand, because they work so hard. You know, that generation works so hard for all that furniture and the big bedroom set and the dining room set, and they find out it might not fit, and they're not going to. They might get 5-10 cents on the dollar, but if they're donating it and they know that their furniture or whatever item is going to get a second life, right, to a family in need,
they help, and it's a good feeling, much better than selling it for a fraction of the price.
And after going through all this process, and you can't.
You got to discard it. What you're not selling, what you can't keep, what you cannot give away, discard it. There's no point to hold on to it.
Makes perfect sense. Talking with senior real estate transition specialist Stefanie Cadou here. We're quickly running out of time. Stefanie, you do a lot of helping families, individuals, couples, mums and dads, grandparents, maximizing the value of your home. That's a whole segment in itself. I'm going to put you on the spot in about a minute or so. If you had to pick one or two items, one or two things that you could focus on right now today to maximize the value of your home, if you're looking to downsize in the next year or so, what would you recommend?
Number one is clean. Cleanliness is key. Even if a house is dated, if it's clean, it shows it was cared for. It shows good maintenance. I'm talking obsessive compulsive cleaning. Think of doorknobs. Think of inside the cupboards. Think of the light switches. Things that we don't think of, but we touch regularly. Buyers have no shame. They will touch everything. They will open every closet. So cleanliness is key. Second is repair. It's maintenance. If you don't know where to begin, a good trick is to hire a building inspector, do a pre-sale inspection. He will tell you what has to be fixed in your house. Yeah. So if you buy a car, you don't want to start fixing it. You want it to be in order, even if it's an older model. Same for a house.
So if you're looking in the near future, let's say within a year, don't go renovate that kitchen and spend all that money, because the buyer might not like that, right? But repair the necessary. And I love that pre-sale inspection idea that you're talking about. You do that quite often.
All the time. Why? Because we know what has to be fixed. If the vendor doesn't want to tackle the work, at least we disclose it so the buyer knows what he's getting in.
No surprises. All right. Well, thank you very much. How can our listeners reach you, Stefanie?
Well, you can call me on my cell phone at 514-885-3524 or visit my website at movingsenior.ca.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming in the studio here.
Thank you, Matt.
Always a wealth of information. That's Stefanie Cadou, a real estate broker with Royal LePage Village. Stefanie specializes in older adult transitions, and she holds a senior real estate specialist designation.